These people are, in some respects, organised crime. I mean, we mustn't underestimate that. I don't want to give the impression that we're sort of a secret police. We're certainly not. But you've got to bear in mind that we are losing, as I said before, £20 million a year. That's a great deal of money for an industry which is worth perhaps, say, £350 million. 20 million's loss is a lot.
The flood of illegally produced albums and tapes couldn't have come at a worse time for the British record industry. All the major companies have reported a slump in sales anyway, due to unacceptably high prices and the general state of the economy. The 1956 Copyright Act, brought in before the days of small high-quality cassette recorders and home recording, is out of date and long overdue for reform. And after the heady period of large profits in the 60s, the big names like Pi and EMI are seeing their near monopoly beginning to slip away. And the last few years have seen the emergence of countless small independent labels carving up the market.
People discovered it was quite easy to actually press a record. It wasn't a difficult thing. Up until before that, the big companies maintained it was some kind of secret process which could only 49 people had the clues to. In actual fact, it's very, very easy. There's a lot of people who press records now.
And the bootleggers weren't slow to see the possibilities either. The steady growth in small independent pressing companies has made it easy for the bootlegger to walk in off the street and place an order without too many questions asked. Indemnity forms have to be signed, but in practice, they're barely worth the paper they're written on.
Basically, there isn't any protection at all, because anybody off the street basically could come into us to get a pressing job done. Basically, speed is the essence. And if you've got a query on a job, or a suspect job, we cannot wait a fortnight or 3 weeks from BPI to find out whether we can press it or not. So we either say, no, we cannot press it. In that case, then there's plenty of other companies that will. Or we say, yes, we will press it, and then later find out we've got an injunction on us.
Well, there are a number of these independent manufacturers who, in fact, very legitimate people who take small orders. They perhaps produce them in good faith and then find that perhaps the anti-piracy unit have been investigating this particular illegal duplicator. And I think they're as concerned about the problem as we are, because let's get this quite clear, that when we're talking of this magnificent term of pirate, you know, the old-fashioned buccaneer who's... there's something rather romantic about it. A pirate is a thief. And I think we've got to get that point quite across. This man has got no overheads at all. The only investment he has is a piece of tape. And he is making money out of everybody, and making a lot of money as well.
But even more sinister and damaging to the legitimate record industry are the millions of counterfeit albums and cassettes imported from abroad, mainly from the Far East. These are quite blatant copies of the genuine article, right down to the packaging and printing, manufactured at a fraction of the price in countries which enjoy cheap labour and weak or non-existent laws on copyright. The quality of counterfeit material is in many cases now as good as the original. It's been estimated that 1 cassette in 6 sold today is a counterfeit. They pop up everywhere, but mainly in the smaller shops and market stalls. The proprietors tend to be curiously coy about the existence of counterfeits.
It's impossible to check every single cassette you buy, which, you know, for me is impossible because we're normally quite busy here. So, you know, we don't really check them. Most of the ones that we have are legitimate, I would think, if you want to have a look around. And
you don't seem very sure.
Out. No, because I know there's the possibility that 1 or 2 do get in, but if they do, it's purely unintentional.
This is where all the impounded recordings finally end up, in the BPI raid cage somewhere in West London. They're all neatly stored and labelled as evidence pending court proceedings. The anti-piracy squad carries out around 100 raids every single year. And since it was set up back in 1973, they've seized more than 8 million illegal records and tapes. The BPI publicity machine is rather proud of its statistics, but there's some doubt within the industry itself about just how successful they've really been.
I don't think they're very effective. I don't think they know quite what they're looking for, really. That's a problem.
How do you mean?
I don't think they understand the kind of the difference between the counterfeiting, which is really what I think they should be chasing, and the little bootlegs, which are kind of little cult offerings for David Bowie, usually radio recordings or live recordings from shows, which actually are probably a boon to the business. It keeps the David Bowie fan more eager to buy more David Bowie records. His whole collection must be complete. And the counterfeits, the people who actually copy a big, huge hit record, and their contribution is well hidden because because there's such a quantity around.
And often coming in from abroad.
That's right, I think so, yeah, a lot from abroad. They're the ones that I think the BPI could catch, and really I don't think they're in a position to, because it would involve a very Interpol situation, which of course they're not up to, hardly at all.
I would disagree with that. I think we've been very successful, and particularly over the last couple of years, we've been particularly successful, I think. And one's always got to remember that when you're talking of small people can become very big people unless you can control this adequately. So I would say to our critics that no, we're not sitting back and saying, no, we've done a good job, because clearly to combat piracy, you're never going to solve piracy. You'll
never stamp it out entirely.
You're never going to stamp it out entirely until, let us say, they're so successful, the pirates, that we've got no business left.